Men do not bond if a woman just gives to him. Every woman that's come to me, and this is 40 years of counseling, who's unhappy in a relationship, always says, I do so much more than him. I do. I give. I don't get back. I said, yeah, you're training him not to give to you. 2, there's no room for him to give to you. 3, there's no motivation for him to give to you. If you give more to a man, you will always get less.
So here's a question you get asked all the time, and me too. How can I find Mr. Right? I see so many women who seem to, they get into their late 40s, even 50s, and it's like they still haven't found Mr. Right. They found Mr. Right off his trolley, Mr. Right for now, Mr. Right off his head, but they haven't found Mr. Right. So how do women find also Mr. Right? We must be very gender sensitive, and maybe they want another woman.
It's much harder for women than guys.
To find the right person.
Yeah, much harder.
Oh, so why? Why is it harder for women than guys to find the right person?
Because for guys, if you're turned on to a woman right away, it's usually the right woman, has the potential to be the right woman. For women, if you're turned on right away, it's not necessarily the potential to be the right guy. Mm-hmm. Now, when I said that, let me qualify it. As a younger, immature guy, I could be turned on to 20 women in the room. But there could be 40 women, but out of those 20, one of them would be a good fit for me. So a prerequisite for a man, he should be able to look at a woman and go, I could have sex with her. All right, now she's in the possibility. A woman should be in the realm of, I don't know if I can have sex with him, but I could certainly feel safe in his presence. He's an interesting guy. I want to get to know him better. That's the prerequisite. You have to start in the mind for a woman. Then you go to the heart, where you get him to do stuff for you. Once he does stuff for you, you'll have a reaction of appreciation and trust. Then the energy goes down, and then you flame on sexually. And that means you're getting turned on to the right kind of guy. And you've already established a bond before you get there. Now, I just went through that, but I forgot the original question you just asked me, but come back to it because it's a really good one. What was it you were just saying to me?
So women, they seem to believe that Mr. Right is somewhere that they're not going. And
Mr. Right.
How can I find Mr. Right? Where is he? Where's Mr. Right?
Yeah, I got it. I just needed a little word, Mr. Right. Okay, so many women come to me in their 40s. Okay, now this is for women in their 40s and above. And they say, I date these really nice guys. They have all the logical prerequisites. I'm an independent woman. I'm successful. I feel good about myself. My life is really good. I say, well, do you need a man? And they go, I don't really need a man. I'd like to have a man. I say, well, that's your problem. You need to feel I can't be happier without a man. You're happy, but you want to be happier. And you can't be happier unless you have a man. You need to feel I need a man to be happier. You're missing something. And usually they're not aware of that need. You've got to feel need to fall in love. Need is what produces estrogen. As soon as you get to that place of I don't really need somebody, then suddenly your estrogen levels drop. So you've got to create a new context to need a man. The old context was easy. You could easily fall in love because you needed money. You needed someone to protect you. You needed someone to help support you in your life. But once you become independent, you don't need somebody. So your estrogen levels are too low. Go test your test. You'll see on the test. If you can't fall in love, your estrogen levels are low. If you're falling in love all the time, your estrogen levels are probably too high. Estrogen allows you to fall in love. Estrogen is stimulated when you feel I have a need and I can get it. So when you're turned on sexually to the dangerous guy, you're feeling I'm not safe. I need him. And how can I make sure I'm safe? I'll give him what he wants. And so I'll give him sex. I'll give him my naked body. I'll give him my jewel. I'll give him my authentic self. And of course, he's not going to bond with you at all. Men do not bond with you if you're too easy. That's old-fashioned knowledge. Every grandmother knows that.
But why? Why is that?
Because men bond through, see, here's the foundation of Beyond Mars and Venus. All of my gender stuff is so good now because it's all biologically based. Men are different from women. How so? Biologically, well-being in men only occurs when he has testosterone levels 10 to 30 times higher than an average woman. 10 to 30 times higher. What stimulates testosterone is feelings of success. So if something makes me feel successful, whether it's real success or not, if I feel it's successful, I made a difference, then my testosterone skyrockets and I feel great. Now, this is the opposite of what 99.9% of the world thinks. They all think testosterone creates aggression and testosterone is this bad hormone. No, whenever a man is romantic, whenever a man falls in love with you, when the man kneels before you and says, I will pledge my life to you, you're the number one person in my life, his testosterone levels are off the chart. That's testosterone. When a man is aggressive, violent, angry, irritable, grumpy, depressed, heart disease, heart attack, in every case, his testosterone is too low and his estrogen is too high. So we see it's just plumbing, basically, is correlated with all these states. For women, it's just the opposite. When a woman is madly in love, her estrogen levels are peaking and her testosterone levels are higher than usual. That also creates her sex desire. But just having high testosterone in women doesn't make them sexual. It makes them want to have sex, like they're missing sex, but their body can't enjoy sex because they're dry, because they need the estrogen. When estrogen skyrockets, then the body says, okay, now we can let more testosterone come in without lowering the estrogen too low. Estrogen is a savior for women when it comes to falling in love.
I shall remember that. So tell me something else which I love, because I always talk about, for a relationship to thrive, you must have best friend chemistry and sexual chemistry, and you must really admire and respect each other. But you talk about the 4 types of sexual chemistry. Could you tell our audience what they are?
Oh, what were they? Which ones are you referring to?
I think you mentioned in your book there are different types of sexual chemistry.
It's not ringing a bell right now.
Oh, okay.
I can come up with 4, but
okay, come up with 4. Come up with 4 types.
Tell me what you're referring to. Give me, because you're looking.
So when I work with people, I always say that a relationship needs best friend chemistry and sexual chemistry. I was released recently.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I'm right with you there. Okay, the 4 types of chemistry. It just
the 4 types of chemistry.
It's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Now,
go into that a little bit more.
Okay, so for women, generally speaking, this is the ideal route. Not always perfect, okay? It's not always going to be this way, but generally speaking, if you look at couples, not every couple, but a lot of couples, the couples I see who have good relationships, they start out slower. The woman has more of a mental chemistry with her partner, which is she admires him, she finds him interesting, she cares about him, they have conversation. Okay, that's 1. Then he does things for her. She responds emotionally and starts to feel she really goes from liking him to loving him. Then she goes from liking him to loving him to then feeling sexual chemistry. Okay, those are the first 3. And when you have both those first 3, then spiritual chemistry can come forth, where you feel the most important thing is you share values. Sharing values is a very important thing. It doesn't mean you're the same. Differences actually creates attraction, but sharing values is that friendship that that you're just talking about, mutual respect for each other, that you share the same values. Like my wife and I have very different political ideas, but we're both very spiritual. And our processes of being spiritual are actually quite different. She's more of a nature lover, I'm more of a meditation. I go to the cosmos. And so but we still have the same values of spirituality is very important, and how we express it might be different. So you could have 2 people who one's a Democrat, one's a Republican, but politics is very important to them. They value government. So suddenly they would have that place of compatibility. So that's values is more of a spiritual connection, chemistry, mental, spiritual, emotional, physical. Now, for men, it starts generally with physical is the prerequisite. You've got to start with some physical, or that it's never going to be there. Biology is such that you're not going to ever have physical connection with everybody. There's a chemistry. And likewise, there's an emotional chemistry that's not going to fit with just everybody. But for a man, there's a developmental process. First, you feel a sexual connection with a woman. Then you're motivated to do things for her. See, doing things for her and then her appreciating you allows him to bond with her. Men do not bond if a woman just gives to him. Every woman that's come to me, and this is 40 years of counseling, who's unhappy in a relationship, always says, I do so much more than him. I do. I give. I don't get back. I said, yeah, you're training him not to give to you. 2, there's no room for him to give to you. 3, there's no motivation for him to give to you. If you give more to a man, you will always get less. You're actually making him weak and lowering his testosterone and increasing his estrogen by giving more. It's when men give more and women appreciate more that men bond with you. When men do things for you, you need help and he does it, he's now 1 step closer to bonding with you. See, this is the classic difference. Because women know, oh, if he does things for me, I would love him so much more. So she thinks, how do I get him to love me? I'll do things for him. And so he'll love you more. No, he'll love you less if you do things for him. He likes you doing things for him. Oh, I like everybody serving me and whatever. Then I'll just become a lazy, despotic king, which is what happens to the royal families. They're all narcissists. They're all cuckoo. They're all crazy because everybody does things for them, particularly for the males, because males have to earn their way. If you don't earn your way, you're a spoiled brat. This is why you'll see so many alcoholics and drug addicts are rich. And then you've got the other spectrum, which are the really poor ones, because you see poor people, they don't make a difference. They don't get paid for what they do. So they have weak testosterone levels. And you got rich kids, rich males who never had to earn their way. They got it given to them. They also didn't earn and get a result. Men have to do the difficult stuff, earn the love. And women have to feel that I don't have to earn it. I deserve it. See, this is like all the commercials for women. You deserve it.
You're worth it.
It touches, you're worth it. You deserve it. But the problem is that women are on their male side, and so they think they have to give more and do more to be worthy of it. And that actually is affirming that they don't deserve it unconditionally. You are beautiful. You are loving. You are caring. You are supportive. These are feminine qualities. You are emotional. You're sensitive. All those qualities mean you deserve to have someone be there for you and be of servant to you. And then naturally, you then feel even better when you give back. Giving back is the highest. So women have experienced someone giving to me, and then I give back, and that feels so good. So then they make the mistake of thinking giving makes them feel good. Giving doesn't make you feel good. Giving back is what makes you feel good. Giving back is unconditional giving. It's free give. You want to give, as opposed to giving to get. When you give to get, you train a man to become weak. When you give to get, your estrogen levels go down and your testosterone is being produced. So we're all confused today. The old systems work to various degrees, but we have advanced to another level where women are independent. And as soon as that happens, kabang, the hormones change. And we need a new set of social structures, communication skills, understanding of gender differences, so that we can create new rituals, like the dating ritual, for example. And you mentioned men paying for women. Actually, men buying a meal for women is very important dating ritual for bonding. He needs to feel, I did something of value for you, and you need to feel like, oh, isn't that nice? And many women won't even let a man pay for dinner because then they feel she's obligated to have sex with him. And that's putting her in the role of a whore. She's not a whore. You're not obligated to have sex with somebody just because they paid for your dinner. You gave him a gift by letting him pay for your dinner because you're enjoying it. This is what men need more than anything, is to feel that I make a difference. And if he doesn't make a difference, he's not going to bond with you. And you're not going to bond with him if he doesn't make a difference with you.
So what do you feel about this need in a marriage to have sexual chemistry and best friend chemistry? I've worked with other relationship columnists who say that you shouldn't have best friend chemistry. But for me, I find it really important. But a lot of people say, no, that's wrong. So I'd love your take on that.
Well, I think that as a guy, I have male best friends. And then as my best friend woman, it's my wife.
Yeah.
If there's such a thing as a girl's best friend being another girl, that's a different kind of best friend.
Yeah, the best friend chemistry I mean is I wouldn't ask my husband to come shopping with me. I prefer he doesn't, actually. I would never take him to the nail bar. But he is my best friend. When things are tough, I turn to him.
That's beautiful.
He is my best friend in every way because he's always got my back and I've got his. So people get very confused with this. Oh, so my husband's got to be my best friend, shopping, coming to the hairdresser. No, it's
Right.
best friend chemistry, not your best friend.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of semantics in that case. You defined it very, very well. Best friend mean I am the guy she can turn to. She is the person I turn to for support. But at the same time, there's another kind of best friend is my buddies.
Yeah,
okay?
Of course.
And I can talk about I'm thinking about investing with this, or I'm thinking about doing this, or I talk to so and so, and I feel free to sort of say all that thinking about stuff with them, because their security isn't dependent upon me in any way. So I wouldn't just go to my wife with unhatched ideas as my best friend, but she's my best friend and person I go to for support and help. And there's that. She always has my back. I'm the most important person in the world, and she is the most important person in the world for me. And in that context, we're best friends. But there's a thing which a common phrase is called the friend zone. And this is for the single women out there, is you don't want to make a man, particularly if a guy is one of these sort of nicer guys, which is good potential, into a friend zone. And men have to make the mistake of these guys who are not, narcissistic, not egotistical guys, but good guys. They tend to fall into the friend zone, which means that she doesn't have any sexual attraction for him. And already, because our world has so much dysfunction in it, you're already against the fact that she's going to be more attracted to the guy who's not available to her. That's A. B, you're available to her. That makes you less attractive to her, and therefore a greater potential for a good friend. So men should learn how not to get into that friend zone if they're the nice guys. And women should know you've got a nice guy, because those are the guys you should be dating, where you have no sexual attraction in the beginning. And don't put them in the friend zone. And the way men go into this friend zone thing where there's no sexual attraction is by becoming more feminine. Now, how do you become more feminine? You have to become more masculine in her presence. Already women are too masculine, in my opinion. And not every woman, though, but many women are too masculine. And too masculine means they've shut down their feminine. So it's another way of saying they're not feminine. They're not authentic. Authenticity, if you've got a woman's body, is you are feminine and you can be masculine too. So how to get out of the friend zone is where you ask men what they're feeling and men talk about it. Okay, now you're in the friend zone. Don't tell her your issues. Don't go to her with your problems. If you're a guy, you listen to her issues. If you start to open up and share your insecurities, your doubts, your fears, your dreams, your hopes, and all that stuff, and start talking, she'll be a good listener. Women, they love listening to that stuff. I'm such a good listener. Look how good a listener I am. I'm so interested. And she'll ask you questions. She's a born therapist. She'll just dig in there. Why? Because she knows if he did that for her, she would feel very loved and supported. So now she's going to be pursuing him, giving him what he needs by being this good little therapist for him, this really good friend. And he's going to think, okay, I'm doing the right thing here. She asked me questions, I'll give her answers. Don't open up like that. You make her open up. If you open up, she becomes the listener. If she's the listener, she's on the male side. Listening is male energy. When you're listening to somebody, you're penetrating in. Now you're listening to me, you're on your male side, but you're also on your female side. See, you can have both. But when you're dating someone, you want to accentuate the gender differences. That creates the attraction. Okay. The newness of a relationship sometimes will create passion, because if newness itself, because it's new, it will create excitement. But newness will always go away in a relationship. So you can't be dependent upon newness in order to stimulate your passion. So what is a guaranteed stimulation of passion is differences. Now, different points of view will do it, as long as you're not trying to control your partner. So I tell women on dates, or men who are people pleasers, women who are people pleasers, don't conform your ideas to somebody else to minimize conflict. Fully articulate and express your point of view authentically, but don't do it in a way that tries to change the other person's point of view. See, people love people to be different, as long as I'm not trying to change your point of view. It's the differences create attraction, but even more potent is the biology is what controls sex. biological differences stimulate the hormones. If I come into your presence with 50 times more testosterone than you have in your body, your estrogen levels will start to rise up just by being in my presence. If you come into my presence with 20, 30 times more estrogen, even 20 times more estrogen than I have, I'm going to get turned on. That's why young women turn on men, because they have so much estrogen. As women become more independent, their estrogen levels go down. But a young woman, she doesn't have that confidence yet of her masculine side. So she will be more of a turn on to men floating. She's putting out little pheromones of estrogen. Estrogen goes up, you put out sexual pheromones. Men suddenly wake up, their body just goes, oh, I could do her easy without even knowing her anything, because she's just putting out those pheromones, which will happen when your estrogen levels go up. When estrogen goes up, this is the science behind estrogen. When you're in the presence as a woman or man, if I feel I need your help and I can get it, I anticipate getting help from you. I have a need and I anticipate getting help. My estrogen levels will go up. That's why you got all these men addicted to drugs, basically addicted to alcohol. It's a dependency. When men are dependent on something outside themselves to experience happiness, now they're addicted to it. Produces high levels of dopamine, but also estrogen. What you want in men is to produce high levels of testosterone, and dopamine is fine. Now, pornography, you're depending upon this woman being naked. Again, that's what sex is. You're depending on somebody else to turn you on. And in pornography, it's just deadly to the male psyche now. This is, showing a little skin, the old-fashioned look at a piece of paper, a little picture, get you a little turned on. You remind yourself that, oh yeah, I got sex parts and I got a partner to do it with. Or if I don't have a partner, I'm going to go find a partner to do it with. There used to be kind of a spiritual condemnation of masturbation. So that sort of helped men as well from getting into addiction to masturbation. What men have to know is every time they ejaculate, they're losing a massive amount of zinc. Zinc is necessary to make testosterone. So we see in males, it's become a common thing that men's testosterone levels are constantly going down, down, down as they get older. Even younger teenage boys are going into puberty later. This masturbation consumption, masturbation is natural and normal, done in a natural. It's like not doing it every day all the time. These kids today are doing it 3 times a day, watching porn. Their brain it's completely taken over by naked women that they don't know. It's, in the monkey brain of a male, if females are sexually available to you, it means that you're the king. Mm-hmm. The king has the harem. The king monkey, all the monkeys want to mate with him. Okay, so when monkeys want to mate with you, and that's what the internet says to your monkey brain, all these monkeys want to have sex with me. I'm king, but you're not king. But you get a surge of hormones as if you're king, and then it crashes down and you realize you're not this king. Nobody really wants you. You're living in an illusory world. But when the testosterone shoots up, the dopamine shoots up. It's like king for a day. That's called overstimulation of dopamine and testosterone receptor sites, which desensitizes you to normal stimulation. So if you're ejaculating on and having sex with women online, your capacity to enjoy sex with a real woman is diminished a little bit each time. So what we're seeing now is 21-year-old men who are addicted to pornography cannot have an erection with a real woman.
Yeah, I know.
So I just gave the scientific explanation. I predicted it back in 1995. I was talking about this. And now we're seeing this huge phenomena of impotent males if they're in a relationship with a real woman. And take a milder version of that is the inability to sustain sexual interest in a real woman. See, one is you can't even stay. You can get it maybe 1 or 2 times and then you're done. But you can't sustain it over a lifetime. So my wife just has to show breasts and I want to have sex. I mean, it's good. Sustained. But also, I don't masturbate. I was a celibate monk for 9 years. I learned how to not have to be dependent on that release.
So tell me something then, with all of this going on, do you think monogamy is doomed? People just find it hard. They find it harder to find someone, but then they find it so hard to stay. It's like, well, there's a bigger, better deal out there. So it's not just finding someone, it's staying with one person. Where do you think monogamy is going?
Well, right now it's destroyed. Okay, you're looking at twice as many people are not even getting married. Why? Because they can't. And why is the answer is they can't stay in love.
Why?
They can't keep it up with the same person. And you see all these people say, oh, we're still friends, we're just breaking up. Yeah, you're just not having sex. That's the reason you're not together. Sex is so important. It's the glue that makes my relationship with my wife different from all the other women that I think are wonderful. That's what's different is sex. We're having sex. Sex is the power. It's what brings us together. Are you going to get involved with somebody you feel no sexual attraction to? No. Are you going to stay with somebody you can't sustain sexual attraction to? No. Unless you decide you just want to be comfortable and begin getting old. And that's people who become comfortable, just begin getting old as one potential. I don't have a judgment against people who decide they want to stop having sex, but I see it's just like they have a health condition. That is a health challenge. Their hormones are out of balance. They need to amp them up. They will enjoy life more. There's something called contentment and there's something called passion. And most people today will not settle for contentment. That's a thing of the past, because when you have access to both your male and female sides, you have the ability to create a lifetime of passion and aliveness. And people today want passion and aliveness, and they see it's possible. Some people have it. I want it. How do you get it? And then you feel this passion when you're with this person, and then it goes away. You feel, okay, I have to find somebody else to find it, find somebody else to have it. And that's a journey that some people have. Hey, I'd prefer that over than sitting in a passionless marriage. But what's better is what I teach is how to keep the passion alive with one person. You just have to learn how to have great sex. And then you have the potential of real monogamy, which is, in my marriage, it's the freedom. You can go have sex with somebody if you want to. I can go have sex with somebody if I want to. There's freedom there. There's complete, explicit freedom to have sex with anybody you want. And I don't want to. I'm free. You see, monogamy is freedom. I just tell people I'm in a monogamous relationship so I don't have to reject all these women that want to have sex with me. I want to have sex just with one person. It's like one movie star said, he said, why would I want to have sex with somebody else? It's like going to McDonald's when I've got a good steak restaurant at home.
That was Paul Newman, yeah.
Yeah, Paul's a great phrase.
Yeah, it's a great phrase.
And it's a reality for only a few people, I have to say.
Yeah, my husband and I make that joke about Wagyu beef. We've kind of up-leveled it. So, but here's one more question for you. Eroticism and intimacy. When you have that, as you say, newness goes away. You meet someone, it's so exciting, it's all new, and then you know them, they know you, and the newness goes, and you may have great intimacy, but what happens to eroticism when you're with someone for 10 years and you know everything about them, you know every move? What happens then? How do you have eroticism and intimacy?
You have eroticism if you have polarity. Polarity is what sustains it. Basically, there's no end to how crazy women are. I'll just put it from a male point of view. You have the ability to get upset about stuff that we can't even imagine. And if we can enjoy that, rather than feel controlled by that or shut down by that, you have a point of view which is so different from mine on what's important to you, how you react to things and so forth. And I learn from it and I grow from it. But I embrace it as differences are okay. And that only happens when we're able to embrace our authentic self. Authentic self is, with that person, is erotic because you're feeling, it's a spiritual eroticism of orgasmic state is I am yours. Okay, I'm yours. You're mine. And we are one. That's, to me, the orgasmic experience of total surrender and total possession, complete attachment and complete non-attachment at the same time. Then we're at the feeling of oneness. We're one. And this is this orgasmic state that you can find. I'm a spiritual guy, okay? Yesterday I meditated. I had the day off. I meditated for 10 hours, okay? So not most people can't do that. I do it effortlessly. I was a monk for 9 years. I know how to do that thing. And so that's one thing. My wife's always saying, how's that different from sex? I say, they're both great. They're both great. But they're different. But they're also highly, highly spiritual, ecstatic states of oneness. And certainly the meditation doesn't have that erotic side to it. That's the joy of being in love with someone and feeling one with them, surrendering to them. But to fully surrender to somebody, you can't feel that they're going to control you. you can't, and if you can't, you have to not control them. We have to learn how to give love without controlling. That's the real monogamy. That's the truth. And then you have the best at home. Why would I want to go with somebody else? Because it's that depth of intimacy that you know who you're making love to. See, when you don't know who you're making love to, that's fantasy. And that's one form of eroticism, without a doubt. There's a much higher spiritual
Actually, I was just about to ask you about, I wanted to ask you about fantasy. That was my last question. I think I saved the best till last. What do you think about fantasy in a couple's sex life? Because I see so many women who can only orgasm using fantasy, and men too, but women more so. So what's your take on using fantasy to keep your sex life erotic?
Using from one perspective, okay, there's a plus and a minus here. When men get off on internet sex, that's a fantasy.
Now this is
you're
with your partner, you're together. It's fantasy. And men,
okay, give me the example of the fantasy you're talking about. You're thinking about Paul Newman, or you're playing out a game?
No. So, for instance, we know 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey was not a great book, but oh my God, did it sell, because it allowed women to go, well, I can fantasize about being tied up or dominated, all the things I shouldn't even like because I'm a modern woman. But now I can buy that book and read about spanking and all kinds of things that I thought were very derogatory to women, but it's given me consent to fantasize. And
so you're role playing that. You're doing it in your mind. You're actually role playing with your partner and doing it.
Just in your mind. Or a lot of women say, I love my husband. We have great sex. But while we're having sex, in my mind, I fantasize that he's the pool guy or the builder or a flight attendant. And I know from many of my clients who could not get pregnant because a man's sperm triples when he's with a new person, I would say to them, look, if your husband has a low sex drive, you're going to have to pretend he's a policeman and you're a policewoman, or he's a flight attendant, so are you, and don't speak. And they would always say that was what massively increased the man's sperm count, but also made her cervix tilt. So I used to use that a lot to help clients conceive. When every time a man...
I like actually acting out the fantasy.
Yeah, but then some of my clients said, wow, it was so good. We still do it. We've now got 2 children. We still do the fantasy. But others will say, well, fantasy's wrong. It's like being unfaithful. It's disrespectful. If I'm happy with my partner, I shouldn't fantasize. I find many women expect their guy to be everything. And acting out in real life or in your head, what do you think it brings to a relationship?
The reason it works is what you're doing there is you're creating your partner somebody different.
Yeah.
Remember, my point of view is differences creates polarity.
Yeah.
And if it's new and different, it creates polarity. Okay, this is different situation. If you're in a relationship where you're growing an authenticity of polarity, meaning a woman is actually connecting more and more with her female side, which has safety, allows all that stuff to come up of her female side, she doesn't need those fantasies. But those fantasies can help bring about a polarity. But a healthier way to do it, from my perspective, is actually, if we're going to be flight attendants together, and you're actually let your partner know what role they're playing. So it's your partner who's the captain of the boat, or it's your partner who's your dominatrix. So, it's let it be both of you sharing in that fantasy together. So then it's your partner being that person. That's how I would recommend it. Otherwise, it's like, do I make somebody wrong because they can't get turned on to their partner without going online and looking at naked women? And then this is what men do. They go online, they look at naked women, and then they remember those naked women and have sex with their wives. That's not really full intimacy.
No,
at least you're having sex. So I go, great, your plumbing's working, okay? So that's much healthier than not having sex, and it's much healthier than having sex with some stranger. So you're getting closer to being with your partner. But if you're actually acting out, and a lot of the spanking thing can really activate this depth of authenticity, because deep inside of all of us, particularly if we were spanked as children, it brings us back to that submissive child state, which is amazingly estrogen oriented. Okay, so we all want to connect back to feeling love. You can't feel more love than a child. Okay, children are just full of love. Their estrogen levels, even in little boys up to 12 years old, have really high estrogen levels. So to access the suppressed, unprocessed parts of who we are, growing up is a part of pushing down the inner child rather than being an adult connected to an inner child. I'm totally a child, okay? I have so much fun in life. My life is a big game. But at the same time, I'm serious. I have goals. I can do both at the same time. Yeah, this is 69 years of teaching this stuff, or 50 years of teaching it. But spanking and being tied up also allows people to get in touch with this feeling of powerlessness. Why people get off on that? It can be a form of therapy, because you're putting yourself in a situation where you get to feel this submissiveness of a child, and your partner gets to feel the power of being dominant. Okay, for people who don't feel they have power, they can be the dominant one. It brings out a sense of I can affect others because they felt powerless as a child. Now they get to have the other side of it. And for people that weren't able, when I talk to dominatrix, women dominatrix, usually it's judges and policemen and people of great authority out in the world who have no vulnerability. They want to be tied up and they want to be spanked. They want to kneel before you and they want to, I'll do whatever you want. Well, in a sense, that's what marriage is to some extent. The man kneels in front of the woman and says, okay, I surrender to you. I am here for you. I adore you. I love you. Your wish is my command.
Check out my next video here.
Marilyn Monroe was such an example of someone who looked out there. She believed if I become rich and famous and beautiful, then surely I'll feel lovable.
And I've seen many, many clients who say, but no one loves me. I can't find love.